Hey people, welcome to the Don't Hub. You can call me the General, and in this video and the ones to come, I'm going to be taking you through web development. So have you ever thought of starting a career as a web developer, or have ever wanted to gain web development skills? Well, you're in the right place. I'm going to take you through the various technologies in the right manner and in the right path in order for you to start creating websites and even doing more advanced stuffs. So if that sounds good to you, why not you hit on the subscribe button, like the video, share and comment down below. And in fact, to announce your presence, why don't you type in "we feast" in the comment section? Type in "we feast." The feast is spelled FEAST, all right, and an explosion emoji. And only after you've done that, you come along to the next slide. Okay, so then what is web development? So web development refers to the building, creating and maintaining of websites. So it includes aspects such as web design, web publishing, web programming and database management. So basically it is the creation of an application that works over the internet, and we call those applications websites. Well, the web development technology stack, well, it's a whole lot. It's a very broad field where we have the front end dev, the back end dev, databases, DevOps, mobile apps, and a whole lot. Okay, so we are going to take it step by step. Remember, on this channel, we learn smart and we code smart. So stick with me. So the three pillars of web development is the front end, the back end, and when those two come together, we call it the full stack. Okay, so let me explain what the front end is, because that's what we're going to be starting with. And so the front end can be thought of as the part of the website that the user interacts with. So it's basically the user interface of the website. So it's known as the client side, right? So this is where you define your structure, the contents, and then maybe text, images, buttons, colors, and the user interactivity. It's all done in the front end. So we have various technologies that we use to attain this goal in the front end. So we have HTML, there is CSS, there is Bootstrap, JavaScript, React.js, Vue.js, and a whole lot. So we are going to take them bit by bit. So for these videos and the ones to come, we are going to be doing HTML and CSS. Okay, so yeah, our main focus is going to be HTML, CSS, JavaScript. So let me explain HTML. HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. Yeah, and it's used for creating web pages. So almost all the web pages you see out there are built with HTML. Originally, HTML was developed with the intent of defining the structure of documents like headings, paragraphs, the list, and so forth, in order to facilitate the sharing of scientific information between researchers. And now that is what has been accepted to use in building web pages, right, with different available tags. Okay, so an HTML tag looks like this, where we have angle brackets. So anything that is inside or between the less than and the greater than angle brackets can be called a tag. So there you can see an HTML tag, and in it you can see, like below it you can see the body tag, and below the body tag you can see an h1 tag, and inside that h1 tag is written hello world. So what is going to be shown on the web page, right, is hello world. That is what you see. And then inside the body tag again we have a p tag. So that p tag stands for paragraph. We're going to be doing more of this. So if it doesn't sound good to you, don't worry, we are going to get into more of these things. So the p stands for paragraph, and it's going to format it as a paragraph, different from the h1 we saw above. And in there we can see we are having programming with the general, and anything we want to go, any text we want to do, we can do it inside that p tag. And then with the slash, that is the reverse slash, that is how we used to end a tag. So we'll get into more of these things. Let me just continue with the explanation. So HTML, this is just a caution that HTML is a must for students and working professionals in order to become great software engineers. And especially if you want to work in the web development domain, of course you need to have some skills in HTML and be good at it. So this is CSS. So CSS is also a technology that helps in the building of websites. That is the front end. So after you've defined your structure, after you've defined what your web page should have, which is the HTML, and then you come to do the styling with CSS. So let me explain what CSS is so that you understand what I mean. So CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheet, and it is a simply designed language that is intended to simplify the process of building or making web pages presentable. So after you write your structure, after you've created your text and buttons on your pages, this is where you style them. So it allows you to apply styles to your web pages, and more importantly, it enables you to do this independent of the HTML which make up such a web page. I hope you understand what I mean. So this is an example of CSS declaration. So that the dot class name you see there is the selector. So we are selecting this from our HTML and then we are styling it. So we are giving it a color property, and the value of that color property is red. So again, we are giving it a property of font size, and it should have a value of 20 pixels. So this is how we do the styling. You see, one after the other. So we take properties and then give values to those properties, which will also then work on the selectors. So whatever selector we give and whatever property we give, it will work on the selector. And down there you can see the dots, the general selector, and it is given a property of font weight bold, and is given another property of text transform with a value of uppercase. So don't worry, we'll do more of these things. You become very good at it. Now, JavaScript. So before I move on, right, I want to give you a real world analogy in order for you to really understand the HTML and then the CSS part. So think of a building. Now, before the building looked very beautiful, like how we see them, a plan was drawn first, and then the structure of how the building should look like was made known. Okay, so then the construction of the building with the blocks and cement was made. So we defined our structure with our plan, and then we built the building with cement and blocks. Okay, and so that can be related to the work of HTML. I hope you get it now. Defining your structure, what the building should have. So the rooms, the kitchens, the dining halls, all those things is the plan, the structure. And then you come to build it with the blocks and then the cement, right? So that can be related to the work of HTML. And then after the construction with blocks and cement is done, the house is then beautified with paintings. Okay, you come and paint your house whatever color you prefer. You give it some features like tiles, the river blades, and then you get it right. So that thing can be related to the work of CSS. So CSS comes to give the building styling, to give it a beautiful look. Okay, so now we have various functionalities in the house. So there are various functionalities of devices and tools in the house, and that come to play here. Now when you press on the switch, the light turns on. When you press on the button, the elevator moves us to the third floor. So such functionalities can be related to the work of JavaScript. So you can realize that those ones will be more complicated, because after you've painted your house and you want these things to, maybe you want your elevator to work, right? It's a functionality that has your technician must come and then write and then do some connections and then some electronics and a whole lot. So that one is more like programming. Okay, yeah, so that is where JavaScript comes into play. I don't know whether you get it, but hopefully you are understanding. So JavaScript comes into play, and now let me explain what JavaScript is. So JavaScript is a famous programming language that is used to create magic on the site to make the site interactive for the user. Hope it's clear. So it is used to enhance the functionality of the website. So it allows for you to run cool games, and then there are various functionalities that can happen on your website. So there is more, but we'll reserve it for the future. So right now, what I want you to focus on is the CSS that we spoke about, and then the HTML that we dealt with, right? So in the next slide, I want to give you what we need for the course. So the requirements. Okay, so we don't need any prior knowledge in web development or coding. I'm going to take you from the ground up, from the basics. We're going to do everything that we need to understand what web development is. So you don't need to have any knowledge. And then certain things we will store on the laptop in order for us to practice, to become very good at what we do, right? So another thing I want from you is I need your determination and then zeal to become a great web developer. So if you really want to have these skills, of course you have to be determined, okay? And then you have to have the zeal to gain these skills. Now, what we'll cover in this course, we're going to do the basics and the fundamentals of HTML and CSS. We're going to talk about modern HTML5 features and CSS features. We'll actually set up our environment for development, and then the development that we'll do now, and after you've liked this skill and you're very good at it, you can even pick it up as a job, and then you do it for future use. And we'll also create awesome web pages using what we have learned. So you can see that this course is going to be a very packed one. Enough of the slides now. Enough of the slides. Let's jump right in. But before we go, make sure you've subscribed, make sure you've liked the video, make sure you've shared, and you've typed in the comment section, we feast. Okay, we feast. Don't forget, FEAST, we feast, and an explosion emoji. Find it and type it in the comment section. I'm going to begin with it so that you can then follow suit. All right, so after you've done that, meet me in the next slide. My name is the General, and I'll see you next.